Good afternoon and welcome to BizTech's Asian Midday Market Watch, powered by the Smart Investor Singapore. It's the 23rd of December, and Tina Teng, Markets Analyst, CMC Markets APAC and Canada, is our guest today, coming out to you from Auckland, New Zealand. Now, this is part of our year-end series where we look back at 2022 and look ahead to 2023. Tina, welcome to the show.
Hi, Brian. How are you? Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Good to see you. Now, Tina, for a start, what, in your opinion, were some of the key things that shaped markets in 2022?
The key things, obviously, that's inflation issues globally that intensified by the Russia-Ukraine war and the price surge in oil, gas, and other energy prices that's caused central banks to rapidly raise interest rates, which just scared the markets, and just most global markets have, we can say, this crash, but it's gone down, decline for the whole year. So it's just like I think that's the mainstream in the market's trend. But since October, the U.S. inflation has actually cooled down. We can see there's like kind of like bottoming opportunities from there, but also the future is so uncertain, and we probably look ahead still not 100% sure that the rebound will continue.
Now, one of the key things also in 2022 was really where China, the lockdown scenario in China, also the property market, and then the stresses within the economy started to take hold. Could you share your insights on this particular topic?
I think China's reopening is the big story for the global markets. You know, China is such a big consumption market, and also they produce this matters the global supply chain and also consumer power as well. I think right now, because there's a surge in the COVID cases in China, just because they just all reopened, so it's just like bumpy journey for the reopening process. However, I'm positive for the Chinese economy in the new year. I think slowly they'll pick up the speed of recovery, and I still think probably in the new year the further stimulus policy from the governments and accommodative monetary policy will continue to support this Chinese shares rebounding.
Okay, now looking ahead then to 2023, which are the sectors that we should be perhaps watching out for? And perhaps we split this up into perhaps China and Australia in the region that you're at, and then also the rest of the world. What are the sectors that you're watching out for growth in 2023?
I expect that in the first half of the year, probably the energy will be still the strong sector that we should be looking at. And you know, the economy, just because there's a high inflation and still rising interest rates, will slow down the growth in the global economy. We can also call it probably we are entering stagflation era. Usually during this period, energy will outperform. So energy will be definitely something we can look at, especially the Australian markets. I think that's energy miners heavy weighted index like ASX 200. This is why you see actually Australian markets have been outperforming in 2022. I think that's the reason behind it. And also we can look at gold, precious metal. Actually, that's kind of something like people who would be in favor of investors again in the new year, as this hold value and safe haven asset, and also that's the typical community that usually will be performing well during this period.
Now, in your opinion, what do you think areas that you're worried about in 2023? What should we as investors be cautious about?
Be cautious. It just don't be rushed to buy the dip in the growth stocks like tech shares. It's like US big tech shares, like you see Apple or even Tesla recently like crash like I think 50% in the last 2 months, right? So I think this growth sector is still a lot of uncertainties around that, and because it's a rapidly rising rates and the slow growth in the economy, it will cause this earnings downgrade. So I still think the recovery in the sector will be slow and gradual. I think you could look at when there is actually policy pivot from central banks, and then you can look at those sectors, the growth sectors. You can buy the dip from the tech shares, the growth stocks.
Now, Tina, thank you very much for your insights, and thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Brian.
Now, Happy New Year and a Merry Christmas to you as well.
Same with you.
Now, we've been speaking to Tina Teng, Markets Analyst at CMC Markets, on BizTech's Asian Midday Market Watch, powered by the Smart Investor Singapore. I'm Brian Fernandez. This video and podcast will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our social media platforms. It'll also be on our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.